everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Los Angeles, and thanks especially to my patrons on Patreon whose support makes this channel possible. You know what drives me crazy that people who don't really know LA say about LA? People like to think that we're so attached to our freeways here, that we have all of them because we like them so much. But that's not really the truth, because these freeways were kind of dumped on us by people in power, and the local communities never actually really wanted them here, and we still don't want them here. So today I'm going to do something a little different than I usually do, and actually highlight some voices other than my own and show you exactly how Los Angeles really feels about all these freeways. For your reference, Alternative 5C was one of several being studied for a 710 expansion project that never should have been started to begin with. Not a single person spoke out in favor of widening the freeway.
Good afternoon. My name is Beth Kent, and I'm an environmental law student at UCLA and a legal extern at the Natural Resources Defense Council. I'm also a resident of Long Beach, and my family has lived there for 25 years. Alternative 5C will negatively impact air quality in local communities by producing air pollutants that harm public health and by displacing residents. What we need is a more sustainable and environmentally just alternative that includes mandatory zero emissions, no displacement, and jobs for community members. Please reject Alternative 5C. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Suzanne Brown. I'm a senior attorney with the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles and a member of the Coalition for Environmental Health and Justice. While we appreciate the nod to zero emissions with the motion that we heard earlier today in the ad hoc committee, it is not a mandatory zero emissions freight corridor. What that motion established is simply a zero emissions program with incentives paid for by corridor residents with their tax dollars. So the motion is simply not far enough for corridor residents. We urge you to direct Caltrans to design a project with a mandatory zero emissions freight corridor, not just an incentive program. With no displacement of homes. In today's housing crisis, we simply can't be in the business of displacing homes and residents. And finally, we need a robust local and targeted hiring policy. While Metro has an excellent record on this, Caltrans does not. Thank you.
Okay, and before our third speaker, let me call forward Maria Reyes, Angelo Logan, and Maria Garcia. Mrs. Bettencourt.
Good afternoon. My name is Silvia Bettencourt. That's no fault to you. My writing is terrible, so I'm sure that's why you got that last name pronounced that way. I work with the Long Beach Alliance for Children with Asthma, and we're very concerned about the 5C as an alternative proposal. It's a project that does not meet the needs of our community. While zero emissions was part of the proposal made in the earlier meeting, it is not the project that we are looking for. What we want is a mandatory zero emissions corridor so that we can reduce and totally eliminate air pollution and eliminate that cost and that burden to our families and in particular our children. Asthma in the Los Angeles area and in particular in Long Beach, where the asthma rate is even higher, we can't afford to continue to pollute in our communities. So I appeal to you to reject 5C and also to reject the motion from earlier this morning.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Reyes y vivo en el West Long Beach.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Maria Reyes and I live in West Long Beach.
Estoy aquí consternada por la manera que manejan esta situación y desarrollo del 710.
I'm here because I am concerned by the way you are handling the situation with the 710, the development of the 710.
Como si fuera un juego de niños o a lo mejor los niños toman más en serio sus juegos.
Like this was a child game, or maybe the children take their games more serious.
En fin, esto que quieren hacer sobre la moción que realmente no beneficia a nadie.
At the end of all this that you want to do, to take this motion, at the end it doesn't really benefit anybody.
Solo que esta medida beneficia a los que están empujando este interés de hacerlo así.
The only thing that this measurement measures is only for the interest of the people that are pushing to get it through.
Porque eso de tomar medidas temporales como casi cero emisiones.
Like taking these measurements like almost zero emission.
Y lo peor todavía, pagado con fondos de impuestos que paga la comunidad.
And the worst of this is that you're going to pay for this with the funds that the community pay for.
De hacerlo así no funciona y después estas medidas o programas desaparecen y nadie se hace responsable.
And sometimes none of these programs, they really work, they disappear, and no one takes responsibility for them.
Por eso yo estoy pidiendo y quiero cero emisiones bien establecido, casi por ley, no casi por ley, que sea cero emisiones por ley.
This is why I want this emission to be not almost zero emission. I want them to be completely zero emission.
Protección para los peatones y para el transporte y conservar los hogares y trabajos locales y beneficios a la salud.
Zero emission, it would be benefit for the people and establish laws that would assure us that they're going to be zero emission, and also to be concerned about our pedestrians, and not only that, but the benefit of the health of these people.
Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you for your testimony.
And the time is not sufficient, but thank you.
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the committee. First off, I want to urge you all to reject the staff's recommendation and actually reject the alternatives that have been provided to you through this process. And I would just really share with you the process in which we've gotten here. It's been 15 years plus in which we've gotten here, and I and some of the other folks in this room have only met with one board member on this matter. We've only been allowed one meeting with one board member on the 710, which is probably the largest infrastructure project under consideration in the United States. So I want to urge you all, before you make your decisions, to at least make time to meet with some of the community organizations and representatives to hear us out. Giving us 1 minute to articulate our concerns and to debate the staff's positions is not adequate, and it's not true democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Before the next speaker, let me call Ramirez Khan, Patra Hutch, and Irene Menes. I hope you can recognize your name from my pronunciation. Please proceed, Ms. Garcia.
Good afternoon, Board members of. I'm concerned about the 710 expansion because I'm a resident for North Long Beach and I'm being impacted from the air pollution. And not only that, because I've been working for 15 years in Long Beach Alliance for Children with Asthma, and I see how the family has been suffering with asthma and respiratory infections. And I just want to urge you to develop the best decision for our communities and for the health in our communities. We want to have mandatory zero emissions, not zero emissions, mandatory zero emissions, because just to see in the hospital, I work in the hospital and see kids not able to breathe is very difficult and very sad. So I would like for you to really make a good decision for the next generations. Thank you so much.
Mi nombre es Serendira Rascón.
My name is Serendira Rascón.
Trabajo en la Alianza de Long Beach para Niños con Asma.
I work with children in Long Beach with children that have asthma.
Mi recomendación es que trabajen para ver más alternativas para proteger nuestra salud en la comunidad.
My recommendation is for you to work and look for different alternatives to help the people in our community.
Porque los niños son lo más importante en esta vida.
Because children are the most important thing in our lives.
Son nuestro futuro.
They're our future.
Y tenemos que apoyarlos ahorita que estamos aquí.
And we have to support them now that we're here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Patra Hutch. I work for the children, the Long Beach Alliance for Children with Asthma. I worked and lived in Long Beach for over 25 years, and in the past 14 years that I've been with Long Beach Alliance for Children with Asthma, I served thousands of families, and I consider them my children as well. So I am very sad to see and hear of people, including my own family, suffering and dying of asthma. Please do the right thing by going zero emission and nothing less. Thank you for your time and consideration. And I too have a dream that everybody and all my children can breathe a clean air. Thank you.
Thank you. And before our next speaker, Silvia Reyes, Jorge Rivera, and Liana Noble.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Irene Menes, and I work for the Long Beach Alliance for Children with Asthma. I am very worried, concerned with the 710 expansion, especially because of the impact it will take on our families. And I, as an Asthma Alliance, work with families who live by the 710 freeway. And I see the disparities and the stress the families have when their children have frequent asthma attacks and them getting worse. And children spending outside is very unhealthy for them. It worries me and it saddens to see our parents having to go through this. Please, our children and families should not be exposed to diesel particulates. There should be a solid plan to address zero emissions. Also, no displacements of homes or homeless services facilities. And lastly, we need jobs. Plus, I would love to see that our communities, our local communities, are being hired. And please make the right choice, and I would like to trust that you will. Thank you.
Please proceed.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Silvia Reyes. Soy residente de Long Beach.
Good afternoon. My name is Silvia Reyes, and I'm a resident of Long Beach.
Soy voluntaria en algunas de las escuelas del distrito de Long Beach.
I am a volunteer on some of the schools in Long Beach.
También soy voluntaria con la Alianza de los Niños con Asma.
And I'm also a volunteer with the Asthma Alliance group.
Si hablamos de contaminación, creo que mi comunidad es la más afectada.
If we're going to talk about contamination, I believe that my community is one of the most contaminated.
En todo esto del 710,
with all of this,
dado muchas vueltas.
All of this that has to do with the 710, and we have gone around a lot of circles here.
La comunidad siempre ha pedido que se llegue a cero emisiones, no cerca de cero emisiones, queremos cero emisiones.
The community has always asked not to be close to zero emission, but to be completely zero emission.
Lo que se habló esta mañana, me parece una ironía que aparte de las consecuencias que estamos pagando.
What we spoke about this morning is an irony that we're talking about this with the consequences that this can happen to children.
Se habla de que nosotros como residentes, como comunidad, pagamos nuestros impuestos y tenemos aún que pagar todo esto.
We talk about us, the residents. We still have to pay for all our taxes, and we still have to pay for all of this.
Pienso que ya estamos pagando un precio demasiado caro porque nuestros niños no pueden salir a veces por la contaminación que existe.
I believe that we're paying a very high price for this because our children cannot sometimes even go outside because of the contamination.
Nuestros niños se merecen un futuro mejor sin tanta contaminación y sin tanta política.
Our children deserve a better future without all this contamination and without all of this politics.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jorge Rivera, Program Director with Libre Long Beach Residents Empowered, and we are a member of CHAJ. I hear constantly mentioned that we've been working on this project for 15 years. Well, 15 years, there should be no time that's long enough when it comes to the benefit and the well-being and the health of our communities. If we have to go another 15 years, we should go another 15 years to find an alternative that it works for the community and for its members. Our local electeds refer to 5C as the lesser of two evils, and that's just simply not good enough. And although we applaud the efforts of the previous motion to go to a zero emissions alternative, we cannot wait for 2040 when we have the technology and the means to do it now today. That's going to set up 2 generations of our children that are going to be impacted by these pollutants and with possible health effects. So we urge you to direct Caltrans to fully study and be accountable to fully study the motion 22.1 because we feel that they have not done so to this date. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before the next speaker, we call Holo Stewart, Kaylee Wade, and Celia Ortega. Please proceed.
My name is Liana Noble. I'm here in agreement with all the speakers that you have heard already and several more that you're going to hear. I want to add something a little different to this presentation. I'm a Long Beach homeowner. I'm a taxpayer. I vote. I'm active in my neighborhood. We are known for having neighborhood groups all over Long Beach. And I'm angry. I'm angry that you are considering about passing forward 5C. Our neighborhoods deserve stability and health broadly defined. Just because we are neighborhoods that aren't all homeowners, that are primarily renters, for you to talk about displacing hundreds of people when we have zero vacancy rate and when we have it's escalating rents, you are going to exacerbate the housing crisis, you are going to destabilize our neighborhoods, and you are obviously hurting and damning our children and future generations. We deserve as good as folks in Pasadena and South Pasadena got when they were considered. Our neighborhoods matter, and we ask you to lead like we matter.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stewart.
Yes, thank you. My name is Holo Stewart. I live in downtown Long Beach, and I want to say a couple of things that are a bit different than some of what you've heard. Somebody did say before, our children are our future. But I like to say, and I worked in education, we are the children's future. The decisions we made influence their health, their education, their stability, even their mental health. And when you displace people by tearing down the housing in an area and depriving that area of services it needs, then you change those children's future in the worst possible way. We should be building a future that is good for our children, and it is upon us to do it. All of us back here and all of you up there, we are the future for children. They're not our future unless we make it a good one. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Celia Ortega, and I'm with Communities for a Better Environment and also a Southgate resident. I'm here to emphasize that our community can no longer carry the burden of any more false solutions. Alternative 5C is another dirty diesel truck project, further dumping contamination through our communities, no matter how you spin it. Let's be clear, the motion that went through in the Highway and Congestions Committee is not enough and gives false hope for zero emissions. It is not a zero emissions corridor and just an incentive program paid for by the people that are already suffering from health impacts, homelessness, and unemployment. Our communities deserve the best, and we definitely deserve a zero emissions corridor that goes beyond incentives, an actual local hire policy, and an option that does not displace homes. I urge you to prioritize community concerns and push for a just project. We're not going to settle for less. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me call forward 3 additional speakers. Taylor Thomas, Jan Anderson, and Lilly Martinez. Please proceed.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Kaylee Wade, and I'm the Southeast LA Youth Organizer with Communities for Better Environment. I'm here today because the 710 project is important to me because I was born and raised only half a mile away from the 710 in Linwood, and due to the fact that it directly impacts communities I care about and work with, including the youth who I'm privileged to work with who can't be here today due to being in school. I'm here to say that low-income communities of color shouldn't face additional burdensome dangers that come with environmental racism, and that we don't want a dirty diesel truck expansion that will come with 5C or with the motion proposed earlier today, and that, just to emphasize what everybody else has been saying, we instead demand a project with no displacement, zero emission corridor, and local jobs. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Taylor Thomas. I'm a resident of Long Beach, and I'm with East Shark Communities for Environmental Justice. So what has changed from this morning? With Supervisor Hahn's motion, absolutely nothing. There's still displacement in this project. There's still no local hire policy, and there's no zero-emission freight corridor. The only thing that has changed is that you want to create an incentive program that does not address the impacts and have us pay for it. When we're all done speaking, don't thank us. Don't tell us you listened. Thousands of public comments, countless hours of public meetings, and we're still in the same place with a project proposal that, as it's designed, will devastate our communities. Motion 22.1 wasn't fully complied with, and Supervisor Han's motion won't be any different. You can and need to do better and reject the alternatives as proposed. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jan Victor. I am a resident of Carson and a member of East Yard Communities. A little story about me. I moved to the U.S. with my family after being separated from my mom 7 years, and shortly thereafter, my brother was born. When he was growing up, every single night, my parents would have to come into his room and get him on a nebulizer, because if you're aware, if a baby doesn't get on their nebulizer, they could die because he couldn't breathe, because we live in a polluted community. And so we're here today as a community asking you not just to make goal to talk about these big plans, but actually stand with the community and get a project that's designed, that's going to get us a committed zero freight corridor. Because all these ideas, we've heard it all. We've been in these meetings. And so you make these plans and nothing happens, and our community is at the backbone. And we need y'all to be leaders and actually push for a full zero freight emission corridor. We need those local jobs because we need investments in our community. And finally, we don't need displacements because our communities need to grow and to build. And you have an opportunity to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Before the next speaker, the last three, Alex Barber, Michelle McCullough, and Ricardo Garcelle. Please speak.
Hi, my name is Lilly Martinez, and I'm going to date myself, but I've been living near the 710 corridor for 40 years. And first, until I was 2 years old, I lived in Huntington Park, then in Southgate until I was 21, and I've been living for over 10 years in Paramount, 2 blocks away from the 710 freeway. I'm very concerned because I did attend some of the outreach efforts by the company that's going to be building this alternative, and I asked what was the plan to get to near zero emissions. 1 hour later, and after 6 professionals spoke to me, I basically got, we don't know. I'm a director of a public health programming department, and I get grants from different kinds of sponsors and foundations. And if I'm going to do a project, I can't say I don't know how I'm going to implement all these millions of dollars that are in my hands. I want to urge to decline the proposal as it was set forth, and we demand as taxpayers that we have a zero emission mandate, not a program that we don't have a plan for. Thank you.
Honorable members of the board, freeway widening, just don't. We got it. It's 2018. I think the better way to use these funds would be to electrify the Alameda corridor and perhaps remove the 710 freeway and convert it to a park. I believe that would be a more appropriate option given the current political climate and the mood of the election. This board has shown remarkable leadership on a number of matters, such as the Vermont Avenue Subway project, which I've been beating the drum on my YouTube channel. And I would like to see the board continue that tradition by rejecting the widening of the 710 freeway and perhaps look into demolishing it instead. Because freeways make traffic worse. Induce demand. Look it up, it's a fact. Thank you all for your time. I yield the remainder of my time.
Hello. My name is Michelle McCullough, and I am an intern with East Yard's Communities for Environmental Justice. I want to start off just by pointing out there's no way you can adopt 5C as a locally preferred alternative. It is not locally preferred. And I think that wording, first of all, just really needs to change. It's not locally preferred. The community is speaking today, and as you can see, everyone is very much against it. I also think that development is inevitable. Change is inevitable, but there's good change. There's change that gives people hope, encouragement, and then there's bad change. And with this climate right now, people that live along in North Long Beach, it's a diverse community. Not everyone has a citizenship. And by displacing people, you're displacing families. That's not a rich neighborhood. You know, people are suffering there, and this plan is going to make it worse. So just reject 5C. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Before the next speaker, there are two additional speakers we will hear. I believe this is Barbara Calhoun and Isabel Vaguero.
Buenas tardes.
Yes, please.
Good
Mi nombre es
afternoon.
Ricardo Garcelle y vivo en la ciudad de Huntington y trabajo en comunidades por un medio ambiente mejor.
My name is
Ricardo Garcelle,
Ricardo Garcelle, and I work with communities
por Better Environment.
for better environment.
Mi preocupación es esta de que estamos desalojando muchas casas y la ciudad del sureste de Los Ángeles se van a quedar sin casas.
My concern is that you're displacing a lot of homes in the south area, and a lot of people will be without homes.
En el futuro, ¿para qué vamos a querer carreteras cuando nadie va a vivir ahí?
Why would we want in the future big highways when no one's going to be living there?
Necesitamos trabajos locales.
We need local jobs.
Necesitamos cero emisión, no enfermedades.
We need zero emission vehicles without illnesses.
Es que hoy en día siguen sufriendo esos niños que van naciendo con asma, con cáncer.
Our children are suffering because they have asthma and cancer.
No necesitamos más hospitales, necesitamos menos contaminación.
We don't need more hospitals, we need less
Si
contamination.
no nos enfermamos, no necesitamos ir al hospital.
Because if we don't get sick, there's no need for us to go to the
Necesitamos que
hospital.
nos ayuden ustedes a no tener contaminación en nuestras áreas del sureste de Los Ángeles.
We need you to help us not to have pollution and contamination in the area of southeast.
Han fallado las agencias que nos deben de cuidar el aire, la tierra y el agua.
The agencies that are responsible for air quality water have failed us.
Y aquí se toman muchas de esas decisiones
And some of these decisions are made here
y dañan a la juventud. ¿Qué futuro van a tener ellos?
that damage our children. What kind of future will they have?
Así que le pido por favor cero emisión, no desplazamientos y trabajos que los
Therefore, I
necesitamos
ask
mucho.
for zero emissions, no displacement, and jobs.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Barbara Calhoun, a 50-year resident of Compton, California. I want to talk about Compton residents and displacement. Compton had no public hearings about this whatsoever. I'm so glad that the group came to one of our meetings to inform us about it. We reject 5C. We want Caltrans to design an alternative that has no displacement. All communities should be engaged in this process. Why was Compton left out? I carry both of these with me. If I don't have these with me, I will die. I suffer from asthma. I've had asthma all my life. Right now, we're having AQMD meetings in the city of Compton about all the hexacolons and everything that's being emitted in our air. And our next meeting is the 21st of this month. So we need you guys, ladies and this board, to think about our health, think about displacement, and think about housing. Everybody's talking about housing to bring more housing. How can you displace something? And oh, by the way, in Compton, over there by the 710 freeway, there's a hunting lodge that should be preserved, should not be torn down. Been in Compton for years. My life is in your hands.
Heard enough? I certainly have. Let's rip out the 710 freeway and put a park where it used to be. On March 1st, the full Metro Board will consider whether or not to kill this project once and for all. Let's hope they do.